Star Trek is entering its 60th year this year, and of course, Paramount is celebrating by pumping out yet another series called Starfleet Academy, which also stars Gina Yashere of Just for Laughs comedy special fame from back in like the early 2010s. I have no idea where the hell she's been this whole time. Anyway, and Robert Picardo is going to be reprising his role as the Doctor. Because let's throw some fan service at people because, well, you know, we need to bring the old fans back. Please, God, bring the old fans back because we need those Paramount Plus numbers, right? Robert Picardo felt the need to jump on Twitter and pen a strongly worded message to us old fans that complain about how awful the new Star Trek series are and how, quote, woke they are. And he felt the need to do this before the series premieres, by the way. So he's getting ahead of the massive deluge of oncoming criticism because it's already started because of the trailers. And he's trying to appeal to our sense of logic and our sense of progressive values because he uses a quote from Gene Roddenberry near the end of his ramble. I will post this article for you, but it's a very long-winded written article, so I am going to find the quote that I'm looking for here. He says here, to quote Gene Roddenberry, he says that Gene Roddenberry said that I hope humanity will mature on the day that it accepts diversity in ideas. Okay, yeah, that was what he said, and you can tell that through the original series, Next Gen, DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise, that those ideals were respectfully written about without being ham-fisted, without being absolutely ridiculous. Like, for example, the original series episode with the planet where we had the race with the dark colored patch on this side and the race with the dark colored patch on this side, and they were fighting each other. Then we had the Outcast episode in Next Generation with the Janai species who have some who feel that they identify as female. That was written about very well, especially if you compare it to the way we handle trans identity now. And that person was an adult, by the way, in the Next Generation episode. We had morality problems given to us in these series, such as the Cardassian, the holographic Cardassian that was programmed to help save B'Elanna Torres. Meanwhile, it was basically the Cardassian Mengele that they had programmed, and they had no idea until the Bajoran people on the ship went, "What the fuck?" Several ways to deal with progressive ideas. But with new Star Trek, it's just, let's take every single talking point that we've all been dealing with for the past 10 years and shove it into every single episode of every single series we can. We even had Spock in Strange New Worlds having a discussion with another Vulcan about how it's not logical to deny your human or your Vulcan side, but instead you could be both. You know, you could be a non-binary Vulcan. It was just ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. Just the ham-fisted non sequiturs that have been forced into every series, even with Picard. The first 2 seasons of Picard really felt like they were written by 2 separate staffs of writers. One that came from old Trek and one that didn't. And the episodes that didn't, that weren't written by the old guard, you could tell, like, they made no sense continuity wise. They just had weird today talking points jammed into the future. It's just not Star Trek. And this whole defense of being diverse just for the sake of diversity. Like, Gene Roddenberry also wrote about the strength in camaraderie and teamwork, and that diversity sometimes and too many ideas could be an issue, and that you did have to have a standard that everybody followed. Like, yes, right, there were several cultures aboard the Enterprise. There were Vulcans and Klingon and Worf, the like Beta Z, Bolian, like all sorts of cultures that were on off-duty hours. They could practice how they, if, Worf needed to do some calisthenics, Klingon style, off he went to the holodeck. Any kind of meditations he did off time, like, that was fine. But do you remember there were a couple of times where he was late for duty because he was having issues with his culture, and Picard was like, "You are a Starfleet officer, Mr. Worf. You will deal with your cultural issues off duty." Right? Like, there was a standard aboard the Enterprise, aboard Voyager, aboard Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine is a great example, especially because of all of the Bajoran practices that were done. Kira had to take some time off to go to the monastery to do some meditations. Like, she couldn't just dip down there every time she wanted to. Like, there are standards. Like, you can't just run around and do whatever the fuck you want. And that is how New Star Trek is promoting, quote, diversity. It's just chickens running amok in the roost. Meanwhile, in Roddenberry's time, there was still a structure. There was still, you must follow the Starfleet way of doing things when you're on duty. You could be whatever race, whatever religion you wanted, but when you're on duty, you are a Starfleet officer. And that is precisely what Gene Roddenberry meant when he said humanity will mature the day that it embraces the diversity of ideas. Meaning, you can embrace the diversity of people and ideas, but you can also be strong enough and trusting enough in those ideals to also follow a standard in your job, in your family, in your schooling, in the way that you handle yourself. That's what Roddenberry meant. He didn't just mean let the asylum run itself. That is not what Roddenberry meant. And shame on Robert Picardo for trying to spin Gene Roddenberry's words to mean what he damn well knows it doesn't mean, and about 30 years ago would have completely agreed with. I don't understand this whole brain slug of we must embrace everything, even things that are clearly not common sense, not logical, and very close to teetering on the edge of mental illness, if not stepping over that line. And that is the biggest issue with Star Trek today, is that it has lost that concept of embracing the good of progressiveness and embracing the good of structure. That is what it is missing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, share, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.